Pleased to say Lord Mandelson is with us. Thank you for joining us, my lord. How do you remember John Prescott, who died yesterday at the age of 86?
Well, John was, as you know, a tremendous force of nature, and what is less known is that when I was in my 20s, when I was a young man, I went to work for John Prescott.
Did you?
He was part of the shadow transport team in 1981, and I worked for him and Albert Booth and others, and it was John Prescott who gave me my reference, my testimonial, when I applied to the Labour Party in 1985 to be its campaign and communications director.
Amazing.
And do you know what he said to me at the time was that, Peter, I'll do this for you. You'll do a good job. Well, you'll do a reasonable job. I mean, you might as well do it, but you've got to keep your nose out of politics. I said, John, I'm wanting to be the campaign director of the Labour Party. He said, you know what I mean. You keep your nose out of politics and stop stirring things up. Just do a job, and then that will be fine. And what he meant by that was...
I know what he meant.
I know what he meant by that. I mean, he was... Look, some people say sometimes that he wasn't New Labour, but that's not true. He was New Labour. He was one very essential part of New Labour.
He was essential, wasn't he? Absolutely.
He basically kept us anchored in our working class roots, our trade union history, and he was the bridge, essentially, between that and the modernisers in the Labour Party. You know, Tony, Gordon, me and the others. And he always wanted that project to work. It's not as if he was standing outside it and peering in. He was on the inside making it work. He was, in many respects, the cement that kept New Labour together over all those years.
How tricky was he to work with?
Oh, it's absolutely impossible. I mean, he was... I mean, when I would say he was sort of courageous, he was. When I say he was loyal, he was. And when I say he was determined, he was. But he was always determined to get his own way on any particular issue at any given moment, right up until the point he'd say, OK, you know, I'll do this for you, you do this for me. As long as you cover this off, I'll happily go along with it. So he was a negotiator. He was a trade union negotiator. He was a broker. But at the end of the day, he wanted it to work. And the way in which he made it work was by being incredibly difficult for sort of days on end, and then finally sealing it, making it work, agreeing it, and off we went.
Did you used to lock horns with him?
I locked horns with him, yes, but a very funny thing happened to me this year. I was at home on a Sunday morning, and the phone went, and then suddenly I put it on, and there was the face of John Prescott on my phone, FaceTiming me from Hull. I mean, no advance warning, no how do you do, or hello, is that you? Yes, John, it is me. What do you want? He said, I just want to say that I know it was difficult and we were bloody awful to you at times, and I was, but actually you did good and I want to forgive you. What am I being forgiven for? And it was just, I want to forgive you because you did good. And I know it wasn't easy at times, and I know it was rough, and I know I didn't help, but now I understand. And I said, well, John, that's very kind of you. How do you suddenly understand this? He said, oh, well, somebody gave me this book of yours. I didn't read it before. It looked very boring and long. But I've looked at it, I've dipped into it, and I've seen what you went through. And all that, you know, hijinks. And all that stuff you went through with Tony and Gordon, and, well, we didn't really help. And I feel rather sorry for you, actually. And anyway, thanks very much.
Click the...
Click. I mean, it was a few minutes more, like, what you doing and how are you and where are you, John? But that was it. And it was sort of... And that was that was the last time I spoke to him, earlier this year.
How did you feel about having a crab named after you?
That was very... Yes, I can't quite remember when that was. That was his... Oh, God, that was his very big joke, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because
the Thames was clean and it had been caught in... There it is.
There was a bottle and he looked at it and he started saying, I can't remember why he called it Peter. I can't quite remember the story.
Because he was teasing you, because he was in charge and he could do whatever he wanted.
That's proper. Was it in August?
Yes. It was when the boss was away.
August. So what would happen in August? Well, it would be August. Tony would go away as Prime Minister. He always liked to go away for his revival, regenerating.
Take the kids away.
Take the kids away, family time, 3 weeks. But he would always say, Peter, you've got to stay in London.
Keep an eye on John.
It wasn't keep an eye on John, it would just make sure, mind the shop.
Yeah.
But John, who was the Deputy Prime Minister, would say, well, hold on a minute, I'm in charge here. And I said, no, absolutely, John, you're absolutely in charge. And I'm just going to be here, you know, in the background, you know, not doing anything. He said, yeah. I mean, look, that was in the nature of the relationship.
What about the punch?
It was in the nature of the relationship that he had with Tony.
Yes.
He knew full well that Tony would want me there just to, you know.
What about the punch?
Oh, the punch. Well, the punch was in the election of 2001.
Yeah.
And I was in Hartlepool fighting my seat, and Tony called. He said, what am I going to do? He said, people are saying he's got to go. I said, let's see. Let's see how the story evolves. Let's see how it pans out. Let's just wait. Give it till overnight. In the morning, it was okay. It wasn't brilliant. It wasn't perfect. It was a Deputy Prime Minister. He just socked somebody in there. It wasn't perfect. But Tony was doing a press conference that morning, I remember. And he just sort of...
Yeah, and that famous line, John's John.
John's John. That's right, John's John, that's right. Not John is what he is. No, it was John's John. Diffused the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly did. Those were the days, weren't they? Meantime, now, you want to be the...
No, let's not talk about
now. Come on, just tell us why you're here.
No.
Go on, indulge us.
I want to... This morning, I'm thinking about John Prescott and the past. I'm not thinking about the future. So we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed.
OK, what about going to the US to be the ambassador?
What about standing for election as Chancellor of Oxford University, which people are still voting this week?
That's what I was going to ask you about.
This week, and we'll know the result of that next week.
Which job would you prefer?
One's a role, the other's a job, and I'm only standing for the role in Oxford as its Chancellor. OK,
so you could do both then?
Thank you very much. Good try. Good try.
It's good to see you. Thanks very much indeed. Thanks a lot.